I don't know anybody that just loves this country, loves this state more than Denny Garrison. You know, he's the definition of a patriot in the best sense of the term, the deepest sense of the term. Not just what's currently popular, but what's good for the long run for the people. He really always had his eye on the history book. And he was, yes, he was a party leader, but he was an Oklahoman and he was an American before he was a member of any political party. He really put the country first. And so to see someone in public service, as I was seeing him in my younger years then, was an inspiration to me, that you could be in public service, you could keep your integrity, you could keep your beliefs. And Denny Garrison is living proof of that, and obviously Barbara was always there supporting him all the way. So they were really inspirations to me in terms of what public service could really be about.
Denzil Garrison was born November 20th, 1926, in Norman, Oklahoma. The son of two educators, Denny learned from a young age the importance of commitment to the public good. The Garrison family boasts a proud and distinguished tradition of military service dating back 5 generations, a tradition Denny carried on when he joined the Army upon graduation from high school in 1944. In 1946, he earned his commission as second lieutenant, Field Artillery, and was sent to the European Theater of Operations. Denny returned from duty in 1947 and soon began studies in pre-law at the University of Oklahoma. But his studies were put on hold by the Korean War. In 1950, Denny was called to active duty as commander of the B Battery of the 171st Field Artillery Battalion. After the conflict, Denny resumed his legal studies and graduated from the University of Oklahoma School of Law in 1953. After graduation, Denny moved to Bartlesville, both to practice law and, by his own admission, to pursue a woman he had met in college, Barbara Hopper.
Well, I expect you could say that I came up here because I hadn't quite talked Barbara into being my wife at the time that I graduated from law school.
Denny was probably lucky to catch her, which is probably why we have the whole family in Bartlesville. I mean, let's face it, Barbara gets the credit for that.
Barbara married Denny in 1954, inaugurating a lifetime of joint service to the Bartlesville community and beyond.
From the time they started with their kids in school, they just jumped in with both feet in every organization imaginable. And the community's been the beneficiary of that, there's no doubt about it.
In 1955, Denny's passion for public service led him to run for county attorney. The victory launched a long and productive career in public service.
So after I moved to Bartlesville, I decided I wanted to go into private law practice. And this I did after 8 months. I filed for the office of county attorney, and I had a very spirited race against a boy who was a native of Washington County. My mother-in-law was Mrs. A. Hopper. She was very helpful to me in the campaign and wrote 1,000 letters in longhand, put one of my cards in them, and 1 week before election, she mailed 1,000 letters, and I won the race by 1,500 votes, and I've always thought that my mother-in-law, Marie Hopper, was the reason that I won that first race I was ever in.
Denny went on to serve a total of 16 years in the Oklahoma Legislature, serving as state representative, state senator, and eventually chief legislative aide to Governor David Boren.
Then I thought, who in the world would be the best possible person to work with me with the legislature? And I thought, Denny Garrison. So even though we were different parties, he played one of the 3 chief roles on my staff as governor. He advised me so much. And we kept a record. I made 108 proposals to the legislature while I was governor, and 104 of them became law. And that was because of Denny Garrison, because he knew he could sell anything to the legislature, he could get it through. People in both parties loved him, as people do across Oklahoma and in his hometown.
Inside and out of politics, one thing Denny's friends have always appreciated: his unfailing sense of humor.
There is a side of Denny that very few people know about. And I don't know whether Senator Boren is going to be in the audience or not. But if he is, he's probably scared to death that Denny is going to do his impersonation of David Boren.
He constantly, I'm not the only person he could imitate. He can imitate others too. And there were people pounding on our doors all the time saying, "Where is that Denny Garrison? You can't believe what he did to me."
David Boren himself told me that right after he got into the United States Senate, his secretary came in and said, "Senator Boren, you're wanted on the telephone." And he said, "Who is it?" He said, "Well, it's Henry Kissinger." He said, "Oh, I know who that is. That's Denny Garrison." He said, "Let me have that phone." He says, "You're not going to fool me, Denny Garrison." And the voice on the other end said, "Who in the hell is Denny Garrison?"
All humor aside, Denny and Barbara have made serious and significant contributions to their community and the documentation of its history and legacy. Denny and Barbara were instrumental in the development of the Washington County Historical Society and Bartlesville Area History Museum.
I can honestly say that it came from my father. He was always interested in telling family stories. When he was a little boy, this, and when he did that. And those were my nighttime tales. And I loved when he would put me to bed because he told me these stories of his growing up. And so that kind of got me interested in family history. So through being interested in family history, then I became interested in everybody's family history. And that's kind of how it all got started with me.
Denny and Barbara have done more than merely record history. They've made history. Their legacy will be a living legacy, carried on by their 5 children, Charles, Ellen, Catherine, Elizabeth, and Martha, and their families, whose lives display the inheritance of citizenship and service handed down to them.
I think that my wife and myself were able to instill a love of God and country in our children. Their actions have borne that out.
I hope that our children will be good citizens, and the grandchildren good citizens, and love their state wherever they're living. They're all over the country, and appreciate the things that appreciate Bartlesville being in their background.
I don't know of any family that is more worthy of that designation than the Garrisons. In my view, they are the ultimate American patriotic family.
So I just want to take this chance to say to Barbara, she deserves a lot of credit for putting up with Denny for all these years, let alone the fact they're both former OU students. We're so proud of both of them here at the University of Oklahoma, that here at the University of Oklahoma and across the state, no one is better loved than the two of you.